I'm not seeing us live anywhere.
It's going to come up.
We're not muted right now. I just muted it. I'm going to unmute it.
But we need to be live for the sound check to work. Going up now?
No, there you go.
Oh, there
See it now.
Check.
Mute it.
Check.
Check.
Put on solo. 8.
Hey everybody, it's Rob. We're just about to get started with this week's episode. Less than 10 minutes left. While you got a couple of minutes here, why don't you go check out otheanthem.com. It's where you can find everything Oh The Anthem, including the merch store, the podcast, and all of the videos. Open up a new tab.
Anchor.fm/Oh The Anthem is the place where you can get direct links to all the podcatchers you use to listen to our show every week.
Did you know we record every episode live on Facebook? Of course you do. But make sure that you're liking the page and turning on notifications so you get notified when we go live.
We make a ton of video content between the podcast, the short films, Heretics. YouTube.com/Oh The Anthem is the place for it all.
And of course you can find me on any social network at Robert N. Cheek.
And me at LegendCB5.
And you can find the podcast at Oh The Anthem on all your social networks.
Right up the top. The president has coronavirus. Don't know if you guys are hearing it first here.
Corey.
Yeah.
It's in the house.
The White House.
The White House. Yeah. So, we've spent the last few months being told that it's not that big of a deal. Let's go see if we can recount. In February, it's the China virus. Don't worry about it. And if we remember Woodward's book, which we talked about in previous weeks, he knew it was going to be terrible and he didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
In March, it was, this whole thing's going to blow over. It's going to get warm. It's going to be 11 cases down to 0. Don't worry about it. And if we remember from Woodward's book, he knew it was going to be terrible and he did nothing about it. And then for the next few weeks, we've basically been saying, oh, it's not that bad. Don't worry about it. Oh, it's time to open up the economy again. Don't worry about staying in your homes. Don't worry about masks. Masks are dumb. In fact, just a few days ago, he made fun of Joe Biden for wearing a mask everywhere.
Biggest mask I've ever seen. I think is the quote.
And then we found out he had coronavirus.
Yes.
And then everyone who on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere on social media has been saying, run over the protesters if they're in the way. I'm glad RBG died. She can have her liberal opinions in hell. Amy Coney Barrett is going to be such a much better justice, blah, 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 blah. Is all of a sudden saying, hey, guys, hey, if you wish death on someone or sickness, what is wrong with you? Yeah. Proving that the hypocrisy is just everywhere. It doesn't matter. Everything about these people's life is hypocrisy.
I don't even know if it's like necessary. So the thing that has been sitting with me the most here is that as an American, I don't want the president to be sick. I think regardless of who the person is, the office is important to me, and that we keep certain things in place about how we maintain that office is important. And it's hard to separate those two things. Trump getting coronavirus and going to Walter Reed is karma. It is ironic. It is a lot of things.
It is a lot of things.
I could literally go in Alanis Morissette ironic, and it would fit in perfectly.
And
I'm
feeling a parody. Corey, I'm feeling a parody coming on for you.
God.
Here you go. You think you can pull off Alanis Morissette?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't.
You did a fine job with Bieber.
I don't think I could. Like, so think about it this way. Hillary was predicted at like a 3-point lead nationally going into the election. She finished with a 2-point lead. So that's pretty good.
I think it was 2.5, 2.6. It was like on the way up to 3, though.
It was within
accurate.
the margin of error
Yeah.
of like where they thought it would be. So the polling wasn't wrong. The difference was where the states lined up.
Yes.
And nobody expected her to lose Michigan and Wisconsin because they thought those were solid Democratic bets. But she also didn't cultivate the relationships that she needed to win those states either. So there was things in play with the polling that didn't make it completely sense. But, you know, you think about it in terms of like the 538 model. They always give it as a percentage chance of winning.
Yeah.
Trump wasn't 0. He was a 20% chance of winning, which is not great, but it's 1 in 5 if you think about it realistically. So, you know, now he's at like a, 15% chance, 17% chance or something like that, according to 538. So again, not great, but is there a 1 in 10 chance that he wins? Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a way that this works out where he wins re-election again. And you have to think the deck is stacked against somebody who's trying to run up against an incumbent. An incumbent has an incredible advantage over a challenger.
Trump can just walk outside at any point, and a reporter will walk up to him.
Yeah.
And he can do. And traditionally, you didn't do things like have your Secretary of State during your convention in a controversial city across the world give you a backing. This guy does.
Yeah.
So there is no rules. He really could just walk up in the Rose Garden and do a presser for the campaign, even though he's not supposed to do that, but he does. But I think that the thing that people are missing as well is Hillary, they were accurate, but they misjudged where the votes were going to come from. They have fixed that now. And in fact, the national polling isn't just a national number. It is corrected for states, essentially. So while 538 is doing a popular vote poll, you can also see the percentage of electoral votes.
Yeah, and you can dial into each individual state and see where their polls are putting it. And it's all based off of polls that are already out there. It's just like sort of an aggregation of the polls that are already out there.
And if I remember, Nate Silver, that's the guy's name, right? In the week or two leading up to the election was saying, I'm seeing some very worrisome things here.
Yeah.
It looks like it's in the bag, but we are looking at the wrong number. You are looking at the national number, and we don't do popular vote nationally. You got to look at the local numbers and then put those all together.
Well, also another thing to consider, and we talk shit about Biden here all the time.
Yeah.
But it's out of love, I guess.
No,
But
it's absolutely not.
it's out of I hope you win this one election and then leave. I guess is what is that? Is that love?
No.
No, but I mean, like going into the 2016 election, the biggest problem going in was that both of these candidates were historically unliked.
Yeah. You went from Obama, who everyone loved, and you picked the worst possible person to come out of that.
Right. And, you ended up with this situation. Biden, for lack of anything better to say, is popular. People like him. His popularity is above 50%. He's
more
got
like
a plus
the other,
positivity.
He's more like the other Clinton.
Yeah.
Just like an old white guy that everybody's like, hey, he's cool enough.
He's got some troubling things, but
So listen, I mean, Hillary did relatively poor amongst African-American men and women. And Biden, for some reason, has really high support in the African-American community.
He has.
Oh, well, I guess.
I mean, he has for his career been a advocate for a lot of causes for the African American community, which,
Incarcerating them, especially.
well, I mean, besides that one, but I'm saying like he has done. Usually, if you think you're going to run for president, it's a good idea to start finding potential pockets of voters to start buttering up to a little bit. Like you start putting in the. It used to happen a lot with God damn it, what was when California was more of a swing state. You used to see. I know people don't
40s?
people don't remember this. California up until the 70s really was it could go either way.
And keep in mind, California had Republican governors.
This week on the podcast, we talk about the dueling town halls between Joe Biden and Donald Trump and what we learned from them. We also talk about plucky little third-party candidate by the name of Kanye West and his latest ad. In news around the Capitol, Dianne Feinstein is no good for the state of California and needs to be eradicated from this earth. COVID, there are real problems with the fall coming and what we're expected to see, and we're going to get into all those details. For your consideration, Oscar favorite Trial of the Chicago 7 came out on Netflix this weekend, and we've got a lot of sports ball to talk about, so you don't want to miss it. Coming up right now on the The Anthem podcast. America's team. Talk about America's loss. This is Corey, and this is the Anthem podcast.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Rob. Welcome to episode 341 of the Anthem podcast, coming to you from the hashtag OTA LA studios, high above the 110 freeway in downtown Los Angeles, California. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for joining on your podcatcher. The easiest way to find it, anchor.fm/OTheAnthem.
And, of course, you can find the live video every Monday on Facebook, on Twitter, via Periscope, YouTube, and twitch.tv/OTheAnthem. And the episodes go up on Tuesday afternoon, so make sure you look for those.
Indeed, indeed. So, last week, we didn't have the town hall debate like we thought we were going to have, so we didn't have any special episode.
No.
But they decided that Biden was going to do a town hall all by himself.
Also, I forgot that there was a debate, so there's that.
It doesn't, to be honest, there's no reason to, I didn't think to even like come in after the fact, because I would feel like I would need to watch both of them before I talked. Yeah. And I don't want to wait like an hour to watch Trump's after I finish watching Biden's to like be able to talk about it. Like it could hold. So like there was nothing.
I can just watch campaign events if I want to talk watch the guys talk to their own cheerleaders asking questions. Although Savannah Guthrie, apparently not a cheerleader for Trump.
Well, I also don't think Savannah Guthrie was terribly unfair either, but that we'll get into that a little bit here. Basically, the two had competing town halls. Biden was going to keep the town hall that would have originally been the debate in a event with George Stephanopoulos on ABC, and then NBC gave Trump the microphone at the same exact time on NBC, MSNBC.
When will they learn?
NBC News. And had a dueling event at the same exact time. A lot of people angry at NBC for like basically counter programming the one town hall with the other.
Yeah.
But honestly, I feel like anyone who wanted to watch both would find a way to watch both, whether it's record one and watch the other, or it's flipping back and forth. But
well, look at you with your fancy recording machine that lets you watch both. Some of us aren't highfalutin like you, Corey.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have this technology from the late 90s.
Actually, Betamax was like 1978.
Rob's at home desperately recording things on VHS tape. I'm going to watch this later.
I got a video camera recording the TV at all times, which I then play back on my Betamax machine. So,
You're also the type who would have like two headsets, like one playing the audio on the TV, one playing the audio on the computer, and you're listening to both debates at the same time, and you're just like, I know everything. Nothing slows me down. Two people talking at the exact same time, nothing.
Okay, yeah, so that would slow me down, and maybe me from the mid-aughts would have been like, both debates, same time, and I got the libertarian debate coming up in text, so I'm reading the whole thing. Now I'm just
following the Twitter live stream of Gary Johnson speaking.
Now I'm just like... Guillotine. Have we talked about guillotines yet? Can we suggest guillotines already?
Nah. Well, let's wait until the next segment at the very.
Okay.
The big problem here is that Trump is completely deranged and doesn't realize that he is losing right now and needs desperately to win back voters. And Biden, on the other hand, while he doesn't look like like this, it's not like Kennedy when he was like coming to events with like windswept beach hair and like.
Did you just say Biden was not Kennedy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, there's
I know it's hard to believe. the differences between them are so slight that it's hard to tell the
Well,
difference.
I don't want to say that because at this point they probably look to be about in the same health. So, maybe.
I would say though that Biden, despite clearly being older and having a little bit of trouble grasping the entirety of what he's trying to say, doesn't look great per se, but at the same time, you could tell that there was a mind at work and he knew what he was talking about. He just sort of got lost sometimes on the details of explaining it.
I want to remind you that in an interview on Fox News, Pete Buttigieg answered a question that was asked of him, and while doing so, subtly switched topics, answered a question that was not asked, and threw in a bit of French philosophy in French on Fox News live on television, and that guy was pushed out after Iowa.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Biden rambled for about 2 minutes before realizing he was nowhere near the point he was trying to make, stopped for a moment or two, and then went back to the point he was trying to make. So my suggestion is, can we get somebody who's not a cessitarian?
Secta. No, I missed that one.
Sexagenarian, right?
Yeah, something like-
Sexagenarian. I want to avoid the 60s because then it's
Yeah.
a sexagenarian, and then
That's where I got confused.
these two guys, I don't want
Yeah.
to bring up sex at all.
Well, I will say that with Biden's event, one thing I did enjoy and something that does seem natural from Biden, which I think is something that hopefully undecided voters who might have been watching this will take as part of this, is that they would ask a question. Somebody in the audience would ask a question. He would speak on it for 5 minutes or whatever. And then every so often, Stephanopoulos would have to throw it to break. He'd be like, all right, so we got to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. And then you'd see Biden like looking up at the person. Awful angles, by the way, because all these people are like 30 feet up in the air. So it's like him going like this. Like if you're looking
Also,
at the camera right now.
They were
it's
sitting
him,
so
like,
far apart on the stage.
hi, everybody. Hey, you up there. But like as they would go to commercial, you would see Biden go like, do you want to talk more about this issue? As like you'd hear the the music coming up and the mic's going down. He's just like, I'd love to talk to you more about this after the event if you want to come meet me in the back. So like there's like a there's a part of Joe that is kind of like that mayor that everyone likes.
Well,
like your small town mayor who like
the person who answered the question or asked the question was a 15-year-old blonde girl who was competing in Miss Teen USA.
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
No.
I just assumed that because somebody who was running for president wanted to follow up backstage after the event. That's what it was.
No, it was not that. Let's
okay.
not give any more credence to those awful like.
Well, the awful rumors
Yeah.
that may have happened between the president and the young women at the Miss Teen America.
Well, yeah, the president, not the vice president.
Oh no,
yeah.
no, I was just. I'm
Now you
used
have to go to NBC for that kind of shit.
But also, as Samantha Guthrie, as I joked about earlier, got a lot of guff for the way she was. But George Stephanopoulos didn't have to do that because Biden answered the questions that he asked him. And then Trump would be, Savannah would ask a question about healthcare and what are we going to do about all of these people who are going to have pre-existing conditions after COVID? And Trump would be like, the economy is stronger. And it's like, okay, but you didn't answer the question that I asked. So I'm going to go back to the question on healthcare. And then Twitter, I knew the debate was going on because my Twitter basically caught on fire and was trying to burn my phone down. But it was just like, oh, I don't know why everybody's on Trump. And why is Savannah being so aggressive? And it was just like, he didn't answer a single question she asked, I don't think.
Well,
so.
and I mean, none of these are unfair questions. I really don't feel like any of these were crossing a line somewhere. I would. A lot of people have problems with the way that Trump is handling coronavirus. So I think questions in regards to how he's handled it and how he has handled the recovery from his diagnosis of it.
And now, especially so, yeah.
To which we are still not on steady footing that he is 100% not, he's tested negative yet. Like
Has he had a negative test yet, Corey?
Well, I mean, the doctor last week apparently released something that said he had a negative test, but it's the same doctor who's been lying to us.
Yes.
It's like, who do you trust here? It's not like I've seen Trump get nasal swabbed and him go yeah, I'm good. Do it on TV or something like that. So
When I think part of the reason they didn't have the regular debate was because they were putting in new testing protocols and Trump would not agree to the new testing protocols.
Well, there are new things about how they can mute the mics now in the next debate. So if Trump decides to interrupt, Exactly. So
what you're telling me is that the moderator for the next debate is going to have the special power that every American has wished they had for the last 4 years. Oh, I'm sorry. That 50% of Americans have wished they had for the last 4 years.
50 to 60% of Americans. Yeah.
Arguably higher than that in any given day. But yeah. By the way, one of the things I have been amazed by is that both George W. Bush and Obama at one point during his presidency have had lower presidential ratings than Trump has had at any point in his presidency.
Mm-hmm.
There has been a point where he has not gone lower than either of the two preceding presidents.
Mm-hmm.
And I just keep asking myself, how is that possible? Yes, Bush was fighting a very unpopular war that we were watching to some extent on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Your neighbor is dying in the hospital, and you're like, apparently 33% of you are just like, yeah, I'm cool with that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Wait, is he going to make me wear a mask? No? All right, I'm fine with this then. I just don't understand. Bush at one point got down to 26% approval rating.
Right.
A quarter of Americans. And Obama at one point got down to, I think, 29 or 31 or something like that.
Yeah.
But like Trump has fallen down to like 33, 32, never below. And I'm just like, we are slipping more and more to like that fanatical nonsense.
Well, I think that's really just the problem. Like, it really started grasping on during Obama, the idea of the team sports of it all. And I've talked about this idea before. And I think that there is just 33% of people that no matter what Trump does, like literally the shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue thing of like, there's nothing I can do to lose supporters. I really feel like that's true. And I think that there are, probably at least 33% of people who are Democrats who will never, under any circumstances, like, go away from what the party thinks.
Yeah.
Or like what the think speak of the party is.
By the way, if Trump had the job of president and that job was to
He
stand...
does actually, in fact, have that job.
he does if that job was, in fact, to stand on the corner of Broadway and Fifth Avenue and shoot a person once an hour for the 4 years that he's been president, less people would be dead than who have died during the coronavirus outbreak. So, funny thing, we'd be better off if he had just gone
started
on Fifth
shooting
Avenue and
people.
started shooting people. That would actually be better for Americans.
Well, that's assuming that the coronavirus didn't happen because he did that.
Okay, also
like,
true.
you know.
Although, if he wasn't in Washington, maybe some competent people would have been there to handle the emergency while he was busy, shooting people.
Question: How many hours of shooting people on Fifth Avenue would it take before McConnell's finally like he's crossed the line?
I don't think that number exists.
1,000 people have died. We need to impeach the president.
Wait, what is that? What is that? Oh, is
like
it from
Adam Schiff's literally standing up there going like, I don't know how else to say this, but the President of the United States is responsible for 1,000 murders in the last 1,000 hours, and crime. This is a crime, by the way.
No.
Don't know what else to.
I think you're out of order, Mr. Schiff. But I mean, it's that laugh. Oh God, the laugh. By the way, all the horror aside, Roberto, who's our producer again today, thank you for joining us, Roberto, sent me a video of like the worst Halloween thing ever, which is what apparently Call of Duty is doing on their thing. And the thing that's scarier than that is Mitch McConnell during a campaign event when he's trying to impress voters, laughing.
Yeah.
I am terrified of that.
Or during the debate.
Or during the debate.
Yeah.
Just anything where he expresses joy, I feel like it's like Darth Vader, where like he takes the helmet off and he's actually happy that he can breathe, and that makes him not able to breathe. That is what I think is happening with Mitch McConnell.
I think Mitch really just doesn't give a fuck anymore. Like there have been times where you did an episode of Rob Explains on it, like the uncomfortable laughter and like how like the psychology of it there.
I in fact did do an episode about that.
And I've been guilty of that before, where you said something really inappropriate and I laughed because I had nothing else to do.
Wait. Are you talking about, when I mentioned that
we don't have to get into specific.
Oh, no? Oh, okay. All right. Earlier today, I think I did one of those moments.
Just know at some points I've done that. But it really looks like McConnell, like, because he had the debate the other day, and I can't remember her name, the one that's running against him right now. I feel bad.
Yeah.
I mean, she'll lose, which is sad.
That's unfortunate,
because she
yes.
seems like an actual real person.
And
Like somewhere deep inside, she looks like she has humanity within her. So
I'm
it's a
distracted
shame
by
that
the
she's going to
fact that
lose.
I started telling a story, and I saw both of you viscerally react to the fact that I was about to tell the story. Just like, no. Sorry. Is it Amy? It's Amy something. She's a former Marine.
Yeah. You figure it out.
I'm gonna look it up. Go ahead.
But she was railing on him like, you're trying to shove through a Supreme Court nomination while, thousands of Kentuckians don't have jobs, and, we're looking for some sort of economic support, and you're just in the Senate doing absolutely nothing for the real life people who live in this state. Yeah, and he's like, while she's going through all those very real points, he's just like,
Amy McGrath, by the way.
yeah, Amy McGrath. That's it. I don't know what else can be said about that. Like, it's like sometimes these people are so bad, I don't know how you possibly can rationalize voting for them.
Yeah.
And I mean, like Trump, in some way, like if you're an idiot and you think that Trump is actually draining the swamp and doing all these things that he said he's doing, I can understand how you fall into the ecosystem where you think things are getting done, and while you might not appreciate, the president's tweeting or something like that, you can say like, oh well, he's really busy, he doesn't have time to research every tweet that he puts out there, and like, he's been doing good for us, and the economy was great, and blah blah blah. But like McConnell, like, I just don't get how some normal everyday person in Kentucky sees McConnell and goes like, he's been doing a lot for me. My median income has stayed exactly the same for the last 2 decades, and we can thank Mitch for that. Like
10 of the poorest counties in the country
yeah.
are in Kentucky.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you would look at that and be like, COVID relief? That's not on my agenda at all. I've been unemployed for the last 14 years. This is no new thing for me.
I get paid more now? Like, I don't know. I'll never understand it. And I'm sure Mitch is going to win again, which will just anger me in some way that I'm not prepared to deal with right now. But like,
well, and I was gonna say you're never gonna be able to understand, and I have a 3-question quiz that shows why.
Okay.
How do you feel about people of color, Corey?
I mean, they should be accepted like everybody else.
Okay, and camps on the border where they're holding illegals and giving hysterectomies. How's that?
Yeah, against that. That's a no.
Against that?
Yeah, that's a no from me, dog.
Okay, and if I was to, I don't know, ask you to go marching down the street, goose stepping, and I don't know, raising your hand in some sort of wave, how would you feel?
I mean, that sounds like something that's been done before, and I don't think it ended well for the people who did it.
Right. And
so generally speaking, I don't want to like
against that.
Yeah,
So because based on your answers,
learn from other people's mistakes, I guess.
Based on your answers, I can tell you that this is not the candidate for you.
What?
You'll never be able to understand it because you are in fact not a fascist. So,
yeah,
it's one of those things.
To think of all those times that I filled out those like 100 quiz questions about who you should vote for, and at the end of it was just 3 questions.
I mean, listen, forget about BuzzFeed. I got you right here. That's all you need.
I got you, BuzzFeed.
Now, to be fair, though, my quiz doesn't cover whether or not you should vote for Kanye, because the answer to that question is always no. You should not vote for Kanye. Now, luckily, for people of the 40 states where he's not on the ballot anyway, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And one of the states where he is on the ballot is California, that he's counting as being on the ballot, but he's the vice presidential candidate under someone else. So that's not the same Kanye. I don't know if you know how that works. Although smart on that lady's part to like throw him in as VP and be like, man, if I get some votes out of it. I mean,
listen, if you're a member of the Peace and Freedom Party, then you don't need to.
Got to do what you got to do sometimes.
But to be fair, like I seem to remember, and this might have changed, so correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, I will.
But I seem to remember that there would be one candidate would be a representative for many parties. So like George W. Bush would be the nominee for the Republican Party. But if there wasn't other people who would step up to be nominees for other parties, like he might also be the nominee for the Freedom Party or the Constitution Party or something else. Whereas if you vote for George W. Bush for any of the times that he's listed, it's still a vote for George W. Bush, even if you vote for him in the Freedom Party as opposed to the Republican Party.
It is. And that is true. However, that was the last occasion where that ever happened.
Oh,
Because-
with George W. Bush?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Just because basically after the second run of Bush, people didn't agree with who either party was putting up enough to. Well, first of all, it never happens on the left because
Yeah.
everyone on the left. I think I use the example that if I agree with 8 things that you say and 2 things that you don't, and I'm a conservative, I will still vote for you because I'm willing to compromise on those 2. If I believe in 8 things that you do and 2 things that you don't, and I'm a liberal, I will not vote for you because I need to find the person who is exactly my kind of liberalism. And that's why there's 7 liberal parties in California, all of which who have their own candidates. Because somebody's like, I'm a green, but I'm not for the Green New Deal. And you know why? Because it focuses on infrastructure for cars, and cars are part of the problem. So I'm for the Green New Deal minus cars. We're the no cars Green New Deal party. And you're like, really?
Yeah.
You're small enough already. You're going to split some vote from the Greens? That's your plan?
Right.
Awesome. Thank you. And it's so they haven't done that historically. But yes, after 1964, when the Dixiecrats actually nominated the Republican candidate to be their candidate as well. So it was a way for everybody who may know, you see all your Republican friends posting things on Facebook and they say, the Republicans are the party of Lincoln and the party of Teddy Roosevelt and the party that freed slaves, and the Democrats were the party of the KKK. All true. Absolutely 100% true. And then in the 1960 election, the Democrats said, how dare you nominate a Catholic from New England?
Yeah.
I don't care that there's a Texan running with him. He's Catholic. He's not even white. He's Irish Catholic. He's not even white. And they got very upset. So in 64, they left the Democratic Party and made their own party called the Dixiecrat Party.
Yeah.
And they nominated who for president?
Oh, shit.
Guy who is still serving in the Senate in 2000.
Oh, that was Thurman, right?
Strom Thurmond for president,
Yeah.
yes. And who would also run in 1948 as a segregationalist Democrat, then ran as a Dixiecrat in 64. Still in the Senate in 2000, by the way, when he died.
Eventually as a Republican, though. He started
So
running. Yeah.
in 64, he ran as a Dixiecrat, and there were 3 parties: Dixiecrat, Democrat, and Republican. Dixiecrat meaning we're like the Democrats, only we don't trust this Irish Catholic with the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then in 68, there were no more Dixiecrats, but there was. They just nominated Richard Nixon. Yeah? 68, Nixon won, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they nominated Richard Nixon.
But he
as
was a
their-
Republican.
Yeah. So because they couldn't get their own nomination together,
Yeah.
they just nominated the Republican.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And then after that, everyone who was a Dixiecrat was like, oh, well.
We're
I guess
basically Republicans
we're Republican
now.
now. Yeah. Because Nixon was like, I'm going to take all these southern states. I'll take them. That's fine. Yeah.
Dixiecrats. This sounds like the beginning of some sort of strategy I can put together to
Some sort of, I don't know.
to win Republican elections for a while. Let's see. I wonder if
It's a strategy based on the South.
yeah.
I feel like there's some sort of wordplay.
Let's
they
kick
can-
around the ideas of what we can call this thing.
Yes. And then
Something tells me fuck the blacks won't work. Can
No,
we
that's
can we workshop this a bit?
although,
It's like Nixon, will you still please stop recording you saying things like that?
first of all, fuck the blacks is not what he said. I can guarantee you.
Oh, I know.
But,
I toned down the horrible thing.
Yeah. That left the Democrats to be everyone else who
Yeah.
were essentially Kennedy Democrats.
Right.
And Roosevelt Democrats who were like, no, I mean, why not have civil rights? I feel like that's something we should do.
Yeah.
And so Republicans became the Southern strategy Republicans of bringing in the Dixiecrats, and that's how we've been ever since. Kanye, just so it's clear, is far more Dixiecrat than he is Democrat.
Yeah.
Now, he has an amazing ad out right now. And I don't know what his ad buy looks like. He might be outspending Trump at this point. I don't know. Because Trump...
I mean, he might be out raising Trump at this point.
True, too. Trump, a little bit of a firecracker campaign. Like, burned hot and bright and then blew up. And now it's just kind of like raining down.
Yeah.
Biden really had a train. It's like, took a long time to get going, but...
Well, I'll tell you, the post-Trump getting COVID seems to have really unlocked Democratic fundraising because there were records that fell all over the place. Lindsey Graham in the race against Jamie Harrison.
Jamie Harrison, yeah.
Harrison has raised $58 million last quarter, which is way past a record.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was like Beto who had like 32 and a quarter, the last time around.
Running against Cruz, yeah.
Yeah, but 50 and a quarter is unheard of. And
by the way, that lets you just buy every ad, just all the ads.
Well, what's great is right now, all these political campaigns are in the home stretch. They figured out who the voters are that they're trying to target, and they're trying to also sort of like, it's one of those like, if I told you, hey, I want you to go build a race car, you would say to yourself like, okay, how much money do I have?
Yeah.
And if I said you have $10,000, you say, okay, I got to make some real cuts here. I got to think about how I'm going to spend this. What's the most important parts for my race car that costs less than $10,000?
I'm going to build
just an engine and wheels. That's all you got.
A sleek racing machine, and then you come in like 6 weeks before I have to actually go race it, and you're like, by the way, here's $40 million.
Just opened up in the budget.
Feel free. You're like, okay, I have the fastest machine possible right now, so this is gonna be good.
Yeah, I can really soup this thing up a little bit. So yeah, the campaigns who are getting a sudden influx of cash right now are really happy about it, and that's why you had people like Lindsey Graham going on TV going like, they're annihilating me financially.
Yeah,
like,
which by the way is a violation of election law.
Yeah,
you cannot do that as a sitting senator because he was being interviewed not as candidate Lindsey Graham. He was being interviewed
as Senator Lindsey.
As senators who sits on the Judiciary Committee, Lindsey Graham.
Yeah. Speaking of Lindsey Graham and the Judiciary Committee.
Yes.
Another person who is on the Judiciary Committee, in fact, the head of the Democratic, the minority in the Judiciary.
Barbara Mikulski? Is that who you're talking about?
No. I'm talking
another old white lady. Okay.
Well, Barbara's no longer with us.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
But Dianne Feinstein is who I'm referring to, the senator from California.
Oh, the one we wish wasn't with us anymore.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
The one who I wish would just take a long walk into Oakland Bay and never return. I really don't understand this anymore. So, first of all, just so you know what the outrage is this time, what Feinstein did this time.
Oh, wait, so she yelled at a bunch of school kids?
No, that was last time.
Oh, that was last time. Okay, all right. Yeah.
Before that, there was the voting yes on Christopher Wray and the almost voting yes on Jeff Sessions and handful of other no, we have to give these people a chance. Before everyone was just like, Dianne, shut the fuck up and sit the fuck down. Don't talk about voting for Jeff Sessions.
Yeah, I remember all this.
This time it was the end of the Amy Coney Barrett hearings, and she decided to take a little time out of her day to say what a wonderful nomination process this has been from Lindsey Graham and the Republicans. And she's so looking forward to the bipartisan nature in which we're going to be able to work going forward. And I'm so happy for where we are as a country right now. And then she goes across the stage, across the dais, and hugs Lindsey Graham, both of them not wearing masks, both of them elderly, if we can use that as a generalized term between the ages of the two of them.
They're both old as fuck. So yeah, I would say elderly's fine.
Yeah. And Lindsey Graham apparently is not taking COVID tests at all.
Yes, because he's positive and doesn't want to come up positive.
He doesn't want to take a test, but he's willing to hug Dianne Feinstein on the stage.
Well, you may get your wish. That's all I'm saying.
And I called the senator's office after I saw this because I don't get to hug my family. I don't get to go across country and see the people that I want to see or work or make money or do any of these things. And part of the reason why I don't get to do any of these things is because the Republican efforts to stay on top of coronavirus have been so abysmal that I can't really do anything. And I would very much like to. And the people standing in the way of Republicans doing whatever the fuck they want are Democrats.
Wait, no, that's incorrect.
Well, the people who are supposed to be in the way.
All right,
yeah.
Now I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I was confused because I haven't seen that in the last.
Right, and I'm saying what I would like is for everyone in the Democratic Party to grow a set and stand up for something once in your life. I understand that standing for things means you have to at one point make up for these things. Like, you stand for the Iraq War, like Dianne Feinstein did.
Yes.
And one day you're going to have to answer questions as to why you supported that thing.
Yeah.
So if you never stand on anything, you never have to ask questions about this sort of thing.
That was a difficult. Even Bernie has to answer questions about his Iraq War vote.
Well, yeah, he voted no.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Yes,
there's some people who
yeah.
voted no. Not everyone voted yes. It was a contentious vote, but there was a lot of Democrats who voted for it, including
Hillary Clinton
Feinstein and Hillary and
Yeah.
Biden, like a whole bunch of fucking people. But like, this is my concern. People bring up all the time in regards to the Senate that California is this big, huge state. A liberal state will 100% be sending 2 Democrats to the Senate every time there's an opportunity. There's not enough Republicans to really garner a third or a candidate, and most of the Republicans in California are like really far right Republicans. Like, there's no like,
they're
it's not like the Maryland Republican Party was for a while, where it's like, you know, like it's 70-30 Democrat Republican, but of those 30, about 15 are kind of Democratic Republicans. Like,
yeah.
like,
They're rhinos.
yeah.
Yeah.
They'll vote for a Republican, but only if the Democrat just doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy Townsend deciding to wait until the last week to start campaigning. It's just like, like he's never gonna beat me. Anywho.
Or the lieutenant governor under
O'Malley.
Yeah. Whose name I can't remember because we did not see him until he was October, and he was like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna lose this thing." All right.
Somebody showed him some numbers. It's just like, you might lose this race. It's just like, really? Let me look at this. Oh fuck. Shit.
All right.
Why wasn't I trying this whole time? So yes, California has more people than 15 states combined, of which those 15 states each send 2 Republican senators.
Yep.
And they're all the worst. The ones that are currently being sent from those 15 states. I honestly don't even need to know what states they are. If they're Republican senators, I know they're pretty much the worst right now.
Yeah.
And California's got their 2. Now, if these 2
Well,
were...
to be fair, California's got 1 right now.
Well,
the other
I
one's
mean,
a little busy.
running for vice
For
president.
president.
We're going to get a new senator from California, hopefully.
2.
But not Diana.
Come on, 2. Maybe we'll get 2.
I'm so like... California senator should be like the love child of AOC and Ed Begley Jr.
You
like,
could be as liberal as you want.
literally the most liberal senator in the history of the world, and you would win in a runaway.
They could go out to the mic and scream, "Guillotines in DC," and there would be enough people to be like, "No, he's not wrong."
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I could run for senator from California and probably win.
I mean, basically it's whoever the party sort of ordains to be the senator of California. But I'm saying,
I could
like,
not be a senator from the state of California.
But I mean, like, it's fucking mad that in this time and place where we are constantly fighting against Republicans, and you know, Democrats are trying to come up with some sort of way to stop an unstoppable force, and like their thought process is just like, now's the time I'm going to make about bipartisanship, and I'm going to be like, this is, you know, thank you so much for such a well put together event. Like, no, this is done. Like, the worst part is that you can't trust her. Like, she is just as bad as the one from West Virginia. No, that was the old one from West Virginia. That was God, I can't remember his name now.
He was a racist Democrat. He was like a weird guy. He held on as a Democrat for a long time.
Robert Byrd, yeah.
And you were like, you are not a Democrat. I don't know what's up with you.
Well,
KKK guy.
the Democrat who's currently in West Virginia, whose name I can't remember, he's like one of those swing Democrats. Like, he's basically a Republican because West Virginia is really hard to win, but he's managed to like hold on to his seat. But every once in a while, when there's a close vote, you don't know how he's going to go because you're worried about him. That's basically what we have. Like, West Virginia and California have the same senator that you can't trust.
Manchin.
Yeah, Joe Manchin. Yeah. Like, you can't trust Joe Manchin to come through on like the Affordable Care Act because he's got to look like he's appeasing his Republican people. But Diane doesn't need to worry about that. Like, she could do anything, any weird. She could say the Green New Deal isn't big enough, and California would just be like, "Yes, let's do it. Let's make it $15
trillion." But the other thing about it is, it's the Senate. So maybe if it wasn't Dianne Feinstein, if it was, I'm just going to use him as an example. He lives in Indiana, not in California. Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah.
You have a 30.
Listen, all he's got to do is move here.
Really, a 38-year-old, openly gay, relatively okay mayor
Yeah.
with a record that is comparative to Kamala's, at least right now, who goes to the Senate and can just stand up and talk. Because once you start talking, they can't stop you from talking.
I'm drafting.
You just start talking.
I'm drafting Katie Porter.
Okay, I
if
mean,
she's
that's fine,
not,
too.
If she's not running, I'm writing her in. I don't give a fuck.
But
I
just-
want somebody who
He's not liberal enough. Pete's not liberal enough. But
the
yeah.
California senator and the the representatives of any part of the state which are under solid Democratic control should be the AOCs of the party.
Yes.
Because they're not going to lose. Like, what Democratic senator in downtown Los Angeles is going to lose? Like,
And
or
listen,
Hollywood or anywhere here in LA or in San Francisco or anything like that.
AOC's arguably got a tougher district. She has the Bronx and Brooklyn, which are Kansas voters. Like, why do you vote against your interest all the time?
Yeah.
But luckily, she came in at a time when there was a racist movement, and they were like, oh, so it's not what I believe in. It's that I am Puerto Rican or Dominican or black.
All the people who celebrated AOC making Congress, and I know that, she's divisive, so there's just as many people saying this is the dawn of the end of America when she was elected and stuff like that. But I'm saying for the far left progressive movement, you should have seen the opportunity of AOC taking out the third most important person in the House as, hey, we can do this any fucking time we want.
Yeah.
Like, Pelosi's running against somebody, another Democrat, because California's got top two.
Mm-hmm.
So it's two Democrats in that vote. So you're not worried about losing your vote on a Democrat. You're not voting for a Republican to get rid of Pelosi.
Yeah.
I mean, the other guy's got problems. I'm not saying vote for him, but I'm saying do your research. Please, if there's any reason at all to vote for him, do it. But because I know what Pelosi's going to do. And
honestly, I don't even know if I need to do research. It's like, it can't be worse, right?
Well, I mean,
it can't be worse.
I did a bare minimum of research on him, and he has some kind of abusive things going on in his life. And it sounds...
What is wrong with this party? You can run anyone.
But it sort of seems like he kind of has an abusive thing, like Amy Klobuchar had an abusive thing. Like, remember when she was getting in trouble because she was yelling at staffers and throwing books and stuff like that? Like, it seems like there's a lot of that, and then also a kind of unsubstantiated sexual abuse thing going on. But yeah, I know. Why can't just it's like Jeffrey Toobin got suspended today from the New Yorker and CNN because he was on a Zoom call and then thought he was on mute and thought the camera was off, and he stepped up and his dick was in frame or something. I don't know what the whole story is, but it's just you can't ever trust anybody because fucking the worst happens just when you need them the most. I really need just one. Can we get a nun to run against Nancy Pelosi or something like that, so I don't have to worry about
Well, no,
what
because
the
the
fuck?
problem is though that the nun is not going to be ultra liberal.
Why can't I get a progressive nun?
You know what I want? I want.
I want a skateboarding progressive nun for San Francisco.
David Dellinger. To
Yeah,
pull a
there we
name
go.
From the Chicago 7.
Yeah, there we go.
Straight laced, completely anti-violence, except for one situation in his entire life, which happened in front of police and a judge. But also, an insanely structured liberal who's like, oh no, I'm left of Lenin. That's where I am. But also, I look like I am a Boy Scout troop leader. I am a straight-laced guy. I look like everything you want to vote for. But when you listen to me, I'm saying things like guillotines in the DC Mall, which I don't look like the guy next door, but I want guillotines in the DC Mall.
So what's wonderful is that right now in the Senate and House races across the country, Republicans are going up against real formidable challengers in some sort of way, shape, or form. We talked about Amy McGrath, right?
Yep, Jamie Harrison.
But Amy McGrath specifically, she was in the military. I think she was in the Air Force. She's done a lot within the state of Kentucky. She has the pedigree of somebody who can. For 20 years, McConnell has been running against soup cans.
Yeah.
The Democrats, somebody might say that they're running as a Democrat against McConnell, but the DNC didn't give a fuck. They're like, why are we going to give you money? You're just going to get slaughtered.
Yeah.
Nobody would pay attention to the race or anything like that. Things started changing a little bit with Beto. As soon as Beto came in and really showed that he could gain
beat
money
Cruz.
and I could
Yep.
beat Cruz. Like, hypothetically, there's a way I could beat him. People got interested in a hurry.
Yeah.
But, you need to have you need to get that push sometimes to get the news out there that you're running.
Didn't someone run in District 1? A trans woman who was a former Navy SEAL ran in District 1 against Andy Harris.
I think something like that happened. I don't think she was trans, but I think she was a military woman. I'm not 100% on that though either.
I'm almost sure she was trans because
I mean, I don't
that
give a shit
became-
one way or the other. I'm just saying, like, I don't believe that was true.
because you can't be a Navy SEAL. You can be a woman if you're a Navy SEAL until the late 90s. So there's no way that I don't think that she could have been. Maybe not. I thought
Maybe
the
it's
story
something
though
else.
that Andy Harris started talking about made it about her sexuality, not about. She might have been a lesbian. I don't know. There was some sexuality issue there.
Yeah.
But I'm just realizing that a candidate for District 1 in Maryland, the most conservative of Maryland districts, is arguably a more iffy Democratic candidate than is running in the district that houses San Francisco.
Yeah.
And I'm very confused about that.
Well, another thing to keep in mind, just for all the people who are just like the 1% and we need to get Wall Street out of Democratic politics and everything like that. Dianne Feinstein's the richest senator by a lot.
Yeah.
And Nancy Pelosi, similarly, is one of the wealthiest members of the House by a lot.
She got that family money. She got that Baltimore mayor money, though.
No, didn't she marry somebody who had some money too, though? That's like how it really exploded.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, still, like, you can't, like, these are not the people that are thinking about the way that we live our, like, you say to yourself, like, oh shit, I got $3,000 worth of student loan money due this month.
Mm-hmm.
And Dianne Feinstein is like, I spend $3,000 a month on the Purina cat chow that comes into this house every day. Like,
Yep.
there's like different operating levels in which you live. And she's never going to understand what it's like to be you, even if you said, like, like, here's how much it costs to live. Here's how much it costs to, like, basic necessities. Here's how much I have in student loans. And then here's how much is left. And how am I ever supposed to grow? And she'll be like, like, yeah, they've really fucked you. The system is really
They've done it. Yes.
Yeah.
They,
It's like,
the
you're the
system.
system. You've been there longer than.
Yeah, that's I saw like a fake political poster that just said something along the lines of, I think we should replace everyone in Congress with someone who is one check away from being homeless.
Yeah.
Because they will have a completely different attitude. They're like, wait, we're spending how much on jets?
Yeah.
How much?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Let's look at this housing situation. Let's look at education, homelessness. And if you took the average American and gave 435 of them congressional power and 100 of them senatorial power, and then, by the way, from both parties, let's just replace them. And you crazy Trump voter, go there.
Yeah.
And you see behind the curtain of what Feinstein sees at judiciary and defense and intelligence, and you get those briefings, and then come out of there and be like, we are selling hundreds of millions of dollars worth of cocaine on the streets of America today to fund stuff. I mean, why can't we just fund homelessness with that? Not that I'm saying we shouldn't sell the cocaine on the street, because, I mean,
we could double dip here a
got to
little
keep
bit.
the price down. But then at least buy housing with it. You know what I mean?
I'm so done with her, and I would really like her to resign. I don't want the retirement. I would like I had to leave because I'm so bad at this. Like,
well, I mean, there's a third option.
I mean, I would appreciate it if all the other Democratic senators literally, like, just grabbed her by her lapels and just, like, tossed her out of the Senate.
Fresh
that would
Prince
be
style.
Yeah, that would be it. Yeah, I just
I feel like there is
there's a
video
meme there somewhere.
Yes, there's a video there somewhere. Who could we get who could dress up and look like Dianne Feinstein from?
Why don't we just get the suit and then just, like, put the fake face, like, do the, like, Roberto's brother was doing with Scarface earlier.
All I'm saying is I'm seeing Feinstein's hair. If we get, like, a lady's power suit.
Listen, the problem with this hair is that it can't be controlled. Right now it looks like Dianne Feinstein's, but tomorrow it looks like Carrot Top, so I can't.
Is Julio Castro still in the Senate?
No, he never was he?
Oh, maybe not. All right, so
He was-
my casting decision now has changed. We need to go with something else. We need
So I don't know. We'll figure it out.
yes.
Let's brainstorm this a little bit.
So,
I just feel like we can just get like a bunch of people and just like put the fake heads on it and
Yeah.
just get a clip from Fresh Prince. And
I mean, if we're gonna do that, we could just might as well build a fake guillotine and we can march him up to the guillotine. Is that too much?
I
Is that
mean,
too far?
the problem is that we have to get the rest of California behind us on this. Right now, they're still thinking that Dianne Feinstein's a reliable Democrat who's going to do what,
okay.
but nobody pays attention. That's the problem.
Yeah,
So-
well, speaking of not paying attention, welcome to the darkest days of our current pandemic.
I never would have known.
Oh, yeah. So we have the benefit of being in Southern California, which means that winter is upon us, and that means temperatures are going to fall to the low 60s.
Yeah, I
maybe
know.
the high 50s.
I know. Get your cardigans ready.
I got to get my jacket out of storage. So for us, it's not as big of an impact. And I don't understand. Well, I do understand that people here are idiots and they're not going to follow the rules either.
Mm-hmm.
But all the doctors, all the legitimate doctors,
Yeah.
have been saying all along, we need to get down. We got to get down to a 2% to 5% max positivity rate by a week and a half ago. Because if we don't, we're going to have this problem with everyone in the Northeast, especially the place that we ran from that's really cold. And if you've ever seen the Entourage movie, there's a moment where Drama is in the back of a car and he says, I can't go back to New Jersey, bro.
New York.
New York.
Yeah.
I can't go back to New York, bro. I like the weather here too much.
I've acclimated.
That's where I am. I can go back to visit, but I can never go back and live.
Yeah.
And
Especially seeing as when we visit is always winter time, so we're doing the get on the plane at 70 degrees, get off the plane at 7 degrees.
it was like going to Mexico or going to Vegas.
Yeah.
And then coming back. Oh, it was the worst.
In
Anyways,
January when we
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was freezing. Anyway, point being, now everyone in the Northeast and also the Northwest and also the center of the country and everywhere except for Southern California and Southern Florida is about to head into wintertime. And winter means being indoors more. And the funny thing about that is the virus spreads really well indoors.
Yeah.
And the reason we had to get down to a 2% positivity rate was so that when we went indoors, we wouldn't spread it. But now we're at a 8.5% positivity rate, which means we, on the new projections, could hit 400,000 plus dead by January. And to put that
By
in
the way,
perspective-
that's almost double what we're at right now.
yeah,
So
yeah, which was already double what they were predicting we'd be at.
Yeah.
By this time, when they predicted that in March. In March, they were saying 100,000 by the end of the year.
One of my favorites was Savannah Guthrie. Was one of the things she fought with Trump about was when he was just like, they said that 2 million people could be dead. And it's just like, yeah, 2 million was the expectation if we did literally nothing. If nothing was done, 2 million could die over a longer period, not by the end of the year, like over a longer,
yeah,
and by the
pandemic, yeah.
and we're at 200,000 now after several months. So
P.S. That's 10%. We're 10% of the way there. If you had done nothing at all.
yeah,
Anyway, so dark days of pandemic, and I wanted to put it in perspective because approximately 465,000 people died liberating the world from fascism in North Africa and Italy and Europe, and then island hopping across the Pacific. And the example I used is and that was World War II. For those of you I apparently have learned, don't know much about the World Wars. World War II was a war where we would say, we need to take that hill. The 12 of you take that hill. And then the 400 people at the bottom of the hill would say, sit and watch as those 12 ran up the hill and got machine gunned down. And then the commander would be like, all right, I need 12 more. And just send people up the hill.
yeah,
And I think it's a good example because that's what we're doing with COVID essentially now. We're just allowing people to just die
yeah.
without doing much about it. And so there's a chance that by Valentine's Day, we'll be at 440,000 dead, which will match the number of people who died in World War II. And Trump clearly supporting his staff of doctors who are giving good medical advice. This is the time to stand behind. Well, you're shaking your head, Corey, but I've seen a political ad where Dr. Fauci was clearly in support of the president.
Yeah,
They're
so
on the same
about
page.
that.
They clearly must be on the same page.
Except that Trump threw Fauci under the bus today, and that's after Fauci said, I don't appreciate being in the campaign ad because I do everything I can to stay very apolitical, stay
That's
out
how
of
I've
it.
been in the White House
Yeah.
for 2 decades, yeah.
Fauci's favorability, by the way, we talk about the lows of lows earlier. His favorability is at like 73% or something like that. He's generally seen, regardless of political party, as a very trusted source and a well-intentioned voice in this whole thing.
I would have guessed 68 because I would guess he wouldn't be supported by the 32% of people who actually support Trump. But maybe there's some crossover there. I'm not aware.
I guess there's a little bit of crossover there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, generally speaking.
It's
like,
the people who look at Trump and say, the tweeting is a bit much. Fauci is clearly a good epidemiologist. He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, but I mean, like, so, like, if you think about it in terms of, like, Trump's vote here and how he needs to get some of these votes back from Biden, some of the people who are going to be voting for Biden, I would think that the guy who has 70% popularity, maybe if you could win him over and make him think that you're taking this seriously, then he says something nice about you, and then...
Wait, I don't have to do that. I could take something nice that he said out of context
and just
make
put it
seem
in
like
an
it's
ad,
about
yeah.
me. Yeah, that seems like the thing to do.
I just don't think it helps that much, doesn't it?
I don't understand where the logic is here at all. And you said he's got to like step up and take some stuff states back, but that call was to his campaign staff, and it basically sounded like we're fucked, and it's not my fault. It's Fauci's fault, and it's the doctor's fault, and it's your fault a lot. I blame most of you on this call who haven't been able to win me states, but it's clearly not my fault.
Right.
Which is the most inspiring campaign speech I have ever heard. Forget about Sorkin. Anything he's written, out the window.
Well, I mean, like, obviously, this is the week that we had Hunter Biden, too, in the emails, the New York Post story. And, you know, it's... What? Are you trying to hold back something? Or?
I when I read the story that the computer expert who found the emails was blind, I just said, wait a second, because I was willing to accept that everything in that story was true.
And listen, we've had conversations before about where we said this doesn't feel like the end of this story just yet.
Yeah.
So we didn't talk about it because of that, because I don't really want to talk about a story that looks most likely that it's fake. But if for whatever reason it's true, if for whatever reason this was Hunter Biden's email or laptop that he dropped off at a repair shop and has slightly damaging things on it, then okay, I'm willing to let somebody try and prove to me it's real. It sounds kind of like bullshit right now.
Wait, is it the fact that every news agency except the New York Post passed on this story?
I mean, that's part of it. The other
Rudy Giuliani was the first call.
Yeah.
Okay.
These are all things that make me think lesser of it. But you know what? I honestly am on. It's one of those. I can be mad at the New York Times for publishing this, and I can be mad at
New York Post.
Post. I'm
Times,
sorry.
Yes.
New York Post publishing this. At the same time, I can be mad at Twitter and Facebook for censoring it essentially. But I also don't know how I want them to handle this differently, because I guess the problem is that, like, I've generally told people that, like, newspapers that you know of should sort of have carte blanche to say what they report on, because they can get sued. The New York Post can get sued for improper things that are written in this story.
And even for the tweet that improperly states something that is in the improper story. They can get sued for libel for that.
Yeah.
Twitter is not going to get sued by anybody.
Now, I mean, granted, everything that's inside of that story is kind of on fishy ground as far as, like, what would you sue for, which is very much by design.
Yes.
But I also think that, you know, like, there's kind of if it's a reputable news source, like, I feel like you have to let them put it out there and then let the people decide.
Yeah.
If it was, you know, Jeff's awesome, totally true blog.com, and he wrote, like, you know, like, every night Joe Biden peels off his skin and becomes a mole person. Like, I don't think Facebook has to allow that to go on the internet, because, like, it's clearly bullshit.
I don't
Like,
want you to put out this fake narrative that he's a mole person. He's clearly a lizard man. And he's part of the cabal that eats children
Yeah.
and is taking over the world.
well, great. Another question that Trump got, by the way, was the QAnon. Like, I just
many
told you about
opportunities?
By the way, you guys gotta watch him talking about QAnon. It's the most amazing. Like, these are people who care a lot about pedophilia. It's just like, yeah, they also have some kind of weird made up theories that maybe you should know about.
And by the way, I've been looking into QAnon. I wanted to do an episode about QAnon, and I realized that, again, much like World War II, there's no easy way to cover it.
Yeah.
Because no one believes the same thing. They just have a few things that are like intertwined, where it's like, I don't believe anything 1 to 8, but I do believe 9 and 10. And you're like, well, I believe 1 through 6, but not 7 and 8, but I do believe 9 and 10 too. So since we both believe in 9 and 10, we can talk.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get a new conspiracy, and we're going to argue about whether or not it's true.
Well, another part of it that I really enjoy is just the that it sometimes feels like people are making off new backstories that weren't explained in the original text. Like, have you ever watched a movie with somebody and they're just like, you ever think about how this movie could be different if the two main guys were brothers? And then you're just like, yeah, I mean, that would be a very interesting story, but they actually never specified that they were brothers.
yeah,
so I don't
that's
think we
not
should
it.
I don't think we should read into it. It's just like, no, but I'm going to come up with a whole bunch of things about if they were brothers. It's like, yeah, but they weren't. So
So
they
here's the
would have
difference between you and-
specified if they were brothers.
A little bit difference between you and I. I spent almost no time on a pot dealer's couch, forcing conversation, waiting for him to bag me up some. So I feel like that's very much like a we're going to smoke some pot and talk about, like, what if the one thing about this movie was completely different,
Yeah.
but it is so fundamental to the movie itself that it changes the whole universe. This is
What
in.
if Luke wasn't the son? What
Yeah,
if he was?
but-
What if Vader was lying when he said he was your father?
Yeah, but he is. He's
So we can't really go back on that.
there. Yeah, that's part of the story. And it's not just Obi-Wan says, yeah,
Right.
they acknowledge the parentage. Yeah, but what if he wasn't? All right, man. Yeah, so I got to get going. What are you how are
gotta-
we doing on the 8th? What's
Sometimes
going on?
you got to figure out like where in the QAnon conspiracy you are, because sometimes it's just like, you know, like Adam Schiff's got like a bunch of teenagers in a suite at the Hollywood or something like that, and you're just like, okay, and then all of a sudden it like jarts off into like two different competing storylines, like depending on whatever the internet decides is like the most compelling of the day. Like,
And that was the thing that I found. It's like literally some things have 3 or 4 different conspiracies about them, and people disagree. And sometimes they change their minds on different days about which one is true.
well, not only that, but like just like you might be hung up on something in particular, like
Pedophilia.
the 1%. Like, you're really against the 1%. So if you were part of a big, huge conspiracy of nut jobs coming up with stories, then you would always try and figure out some sort of way to like wiggle the 1% into it.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, like, oh, well, the reason why this earthquake happened wasn't because of, you know, the gays like this guy is saying. It's really because Sheldon Alderson decided to donate $60 million to this shell corporation. And then you're just like, that starts its own little thing, and the other person was like, you know, blame the gays is like on this side, like creating their own little, but you get like the Christmas tree of like thousands of little stories just going off of one another.
But again, if we all believe that the one event that started that little Christmas tree
Is true.
is a conspiracy, then it doesn't matter. And I don't understand. I can't tell you how many conversations I had with people where it's like, oh, like, okay, so the Trade Center fell at free fall speed, and there's only 2 frames of a plane hitting a building in D.C., one of the most CCTV cities in the world.
Yeah.
I'll acknowledge that's both strange. And then I got them in Facebook Messenger sending me things about like Osama bin Laden is actually still a CIA agent, and that
The fact
being
that
funded by them.
Trump retweeted like that Osama's still alive and SEAL Team 6 is dead, and like all these things are like, they're alive. You can find them. Like, one of them wrote a book.
They
like,
did a movie about it.
Is he on Twitter? Just like ask him, is he dead? Like,
You can add him right now. It's him. Although
something tells me too, as president, you could pick up the phone and just be like, "Hey, SEAL Team 6 alive?"
Yeah.
I just saw a tweet. I just want to confirm whether or not the people who killed Osama bin Laden. I know it was only like fucking 5 years ago, but are they all dead now?
Yeah.
Like,
I was gonna say you can't really trust Twitter because Herman Cain is also tweeting and he's also very clearly dead. So
Herman Cain today earlier. Coronavirus is a hoax. It's just like, well, Herman, I'm sorry to tell you, but
that doesn't seem accurate.
get the Maury Povich meme in here.
Anyway, so a little bit of local news, and do we want to still talk about this? Is this
well, just a quick jump in here.
Yeah.
So there was a moment here in Hollywood where there was a manhunt for a sexual assault suspect.
Yes.
And he jumped a fence at Paramount Studios, and there was a lot of police presence around Paramount.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently at one point he got into the New York set, because there's a New York City street set, and he got into one of the homes. And for people who don't know how this works, they're all like fabricated exteriors.
Yes.
So like you would open up a door so it looks like you can walk into this place, but then on the other side it's just wood or like a false wall or like just enough space for you to like
you can walk
to make the video or make the shot of the guy walking up the steps and then stepping into the house and closing the door. But there's nothing inside of the house that is real. It's all fake.
And as he learned, the upstairs window that looks like a bedroom is just a depth perspective painting.
Yeah.
On the other side of that open window frame. So,
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, this guy was trying to escape, and he breaks into Paramount and gets into the New York set and goes into one of the buildings and finds out that it's not real, and shimmies up to the top and is hiding out from the cops from a couple hours. But all I could think about was, when something in LA happens, I feel like the minds of screenwriters just start lighting up. It's just like so many people, I'm sure, were looking for the opportunity to be able to shoot something on a movie set studio so that they can show the behind the scenes. They don't have to worry about the fake scenes anymore. It's just like you can make it part of the story. And I'm sure there was a lot of screenwriters who were just like, interior, Paramount, night. Our would-be criminal is escaping the prison.
Is it an interior of the studio or an exterior of New York Street?
Oh, well, I guess it would be exterior New York Street, Paramount Studios night. And then once he goes inside, it would be interior.
See,
cut to
but it's
interior.
Not a real house, though. There's not a real roof. It's
Yeah,
not
but
an
you would
interior.
still, so thinking about it in terms of how you're shooting it, like really the interior exterior thing is really about like whether or not you're seeing the outside per se.
I'm
So,
going to go
like-
with Craig Mason's rule, which is it doesn't matter if you write a good script, nobody's going to care which one you use.
I mean, that's true too. I mean, if it's a good script, then nobody.
But the funniest thing for me from all that is, yes, I imagine that 10,000 screenwriters immediately booted up their Macs at whatever coffee shop they were sitting at and were like, all right, I have the very unique vision of this story.
Yeah.
It's going to be fantastic. I was more laughing at the fact that I am almost certain that this guy went running down that street, saw the building, which isn't clearly fake from street level because it's at the angle that you would have the camera shooting at it.
Well,
it looks real.
It looks just like New York if you're walking down the street.
And I imagine this guy running up the stairs of this it's not a brick. What would you call that? It's a stone
Plaster.
row house, basically.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to look like stone.
Right.
Kicking in the door and finding out that this building is 4 feet deep.
Yeah.
It's not a real building. And just being like, oh, shit. And then turning around to run, but seeing the cops come at him and be like, I've made my decision, and shut the door behind him. And again, the buildings are literally 4 feet deep because all they do is paint a perspective painting on the inside of the window to make it look like it's a room. But you can.
Well, if you need to film the interior, go to the place
go
where
to
there's
the-
you go into the sound stages where you can build the interior and you can move the walls. Like
that's why you want it. You don't want a real building. You want to be able to have a four wall living room that you can just be like, all right, let's take that wall out. All right, we're going to shoot from that angle. And now we're going to take that wall out and shoot from that angle.
I'd really love the camera to be right here, about 5 feet behind the wall that we have built. Well, let's take the wall.
Take the wall out, that's fine. But I just imagine that once he had like dedicated himself to go in there, he learns that the building is narrow, and There are stairs because you can also do the thing where like you're sitting in the upstairs window, like
Yeah,
waving down
like
someone on
looking
the
down,
street.
yeah.
Cut to you're stepping out of the door,
Right.
which again is only 4 feet deep.
Yeah.
But I am just picturing him doing the walk like an Egyptian,
Or the camera from up top, like looking down at somebody as they're leaving or something.
Right,
Like
yeah, coming out the door.
Dad's going on a business trip and getting into the cab outside. Like,
But I just imagine this guy kicking the door open, being like, "I've made a horrible decision, but I'm gonna live with it," and then doing the walk like an Egyptian across.
up the stairs.
Just crab walking all the way up to the top of the 3rd floor where he finds out that this bedroom he saw from the street
Yeah.
is a 3-dimensional painting. And he's just like, well, shit. And then basically sitting under the window, like, I'm not giving up, coppers. And some cop outside, we talked about this before, but it's just like, that's made of plastic. We could shoot him. It's not stone. I'll shoot him through that. It's not going to stop it. And then be like, Breonna Taylor, man, yeah, you can't be shooting wildly. It's fine.
The one guy who got fucking charged at Breonna Taylor was the one who wildly shot from outside the building. Let's not be you. Like,
it's plaster, man. I can see him. I see him looking at us right
dude,
now.
you don't want to fuck with it. Johnny Depp might be in there. You don't want to. You don't want to be on TMZ, man. Let's not do it.
Yeah, and
Let's
then
wait him out.
The hopefully the image that you're seeing or you've seen throughout this is the one of like the helicopter just putting the light down on the building that you're
spotlight.
like, oh my gosh, it's this one. So actually thinking about it, he also was probably risking shooting the helicopter up through the building and then hitting the
Going
helicopter
through the
on
other side, yeah.
Oh,
One last Hollywood thing, just while we get out.
yeah.
Trial of Chicago 7 is out on Netflix now. Both Rob and I are big Aaron Sorkin fans. We're
Yes.
both gonna have reviews of this coming up here shortly. And
it's Sorkin-y.
yeah,
It's Sorkin-y.
I felt like it wasn't as Sorkin-y as you thought it was. I thought he tuned it down a little bit, but it's certainly verbose. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, well, see, and this is where we disagree because you are Aaron Sorkin Jr. and you like to write that way, and you were just like, I think the speeches could have monologued at each other way more and for longer, and I was just like, it's a little much, but
I mean, like, watch reviews. You'll get a sense of it. But
so my review for this will be up on Sunday. Corey's will be up 9 weeks from next Thursday, and then you'll be able to compare them. It'll be fun.
right, but definitely worth seeing because this is on the list of like all the Oscar contenders for this year. And if you get a chance to see one of these at home, why not? An Oscar favorite, a potential Oscar favorite, and lots of great acting in it. Great writing, and just generally speaking, I think it's worth seeing. I did miss. I was telling you, like, I feel like there were moments where if we would have seen this in a theater, like there's a moment where all the protesters go back to the park, and the police are on the hill, and they do this like panning shot to show all the police on the hill, and
which I think was meant for a big screen.
Yeah, if you're in a movie theater and you see this move and you see all the police and they look like each one of these figures is like 10 feet tall worth of screen, you're just like, holy shit, like they're really up against something. When it's a screen, even on the perfectly reasonable 55 to 60 inch television screens we watch this shit on, it's still less than the 100 feet of movie theater screen. And moments like that feel a little bit less. So, I mean, like, I think there is an aspect of this movie that I would have liked to have seen in the theater. But, Netflix as well, they probably wouldn't have had a huge theater.
I don't know if you know this. We're in LA. There's one place where we might be able to see a Netflix.
Yeah,
movie
we could have gone to Alamo or something like that and seen it, in a non-pandemic time. But
yeah, but I mean, also not only great writing, great acting. It's probably an Oscar contender, but I think it's important because I mentioned 1968 pretty often about how essentially we almost had a chance to have another 1968 this year. We didn't quite get there, but it's important that you note these things. And I made a reference to David Dellinger earlier, who is one of the defendants of the Chicago 7. I think it's interesting and a good lesson for everyone on the left that like those 7 guys plus 8, if you want to count
Black Panther.
the black, I wanted to call him by his name and now I can't remember. I keep wanting to say Fred, but it's not Fred. It's
I'm blanking on it too. Yeah.
Yes, but nonetheless, those 8 guys have drastically different beliefs, and from nonviolence to like cultural revolution to actual revolution, but they were just like, in 68, we're like, no, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this.
Yeah.
And once this is gone,
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure something out on the other side. We can do our infighting on the other side of this. And now we have a leftist party that doesn't even stand up to the other party.
Yeah.
When they're in power. So, yeah.
Well, one last thing on the agenda here. And for this, we are going to have to take a trip down to Sports Ball. Sorry, I gave Roberto no time on that.
No, I love that you use the words that intro the Baltimore Corner to intro Sports Ball, and I could just see him like frantically clicking to figure out what.
Well, if you want me to, we could talk about the Mosby's not paying their taxes.
Oh, well. That's another story that I feel like I want to see develop.
Yeah, I just want to.
Don't know where it's gonna go.
I mean, I'd love it if she got arrested.
I really would. But
if her and D'Souza just sitting in the same. He's out now, though. Yeah, never mind.
I do want to just point out, though, that the reason for those difficulties weren't necessarily... It was because Corey kind of jumped around and did a weird intro, but also because Roberto's too good to use the actual built-in mouse on the laptop. He has to use his own mouse, and apparently there were some difficulties there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Producer extraordinaire, if anybody's looking for any help. So, anyway, go ahead with your sports ball.
So, the World Series is now all set.
Golf?
No, of baseball.
I'm unfamiliar with the sport. Is there some
the one the Orioles play?
Oh, okay.
Oh, I know the Orioles.
But no, that happens in the springtime. That wasn't happening this year. I remember that distinctly.
They ended up playing. They did a 60-game season and no fans, and now they've been doing the postseason and like
spring training.
No.
We both went
the real season.
And I saw the game and you didn't get to see.
Remember the last week of the season? I was like, the Orioles still have a chance to make the playoffs, and you're like, if you want to talk about it on the podcast, I guess.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I did. I watched. I think I watched this season exactly 12 minutes of baseball.
By the way, spoiler alert: they didn't win. They didn't make it.
And if
in
Corey
fact,
went and put
in fact, they did exactly what I wish they would have done, which is be really competitive until the last week of the season, and then lose as many games as possible to get the best draft pick possible. Like,
yeah, when you realize you're not going to just make it, it's like, go for the draft pick.
Oh, we got to win all these games. Let's fuck it. Let's lose them all instead.
But thinking back to you wanting to put a bet of $100 because it was going to pay $1.7 million if you put a $100 bet on.
Listen, we joked around about a lot of teams there, and I think that
the Rays might have been one.
The
of those
Rays
teams.
would have been one of the teams where you could have gotten some good.
Yeah, I wonder what the odds were at the beginning of the season for the Rays.
I mean, I could find out. But
I know they were down at the bottom with the Orioles at the bottom of the AL.
Yeah.
So surprise.
But this season, this World Series is very interesting. Like a lot of them are for various different reasons, but this one in particular because the Dodgers are the richest team, or one of the richest teams in the majors, and the Rays are one of the poorest.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the Rays cheated their way through the entire season.
No, that was the Astros, who thankfully got destroyed by the Rays.
Okay, good. Yes, yeah.
By losing, by coming back and then losing Game 7.
Yeah, I mean, well, look what happens when you're not playing at home with a trash can right off the,
If you have to play in Texas instead of Houston, it all comes tumbling down.
Oh, if you have to play in Arlington instead of Houston, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm very fascinated by this matchup because it's like two polar opposites in terms of how they're built and what kind of resources they have. And LA is the second or third biggest market in the country, and Tampa is not even liked by the people who live in Florida. Like, the people who actually live in Tampa don't go to the Rays games because there's a bridge
I was gonna say,
that they don't want to cross to go to St. Pete.
The Rays don't play in Tampa.
Yeah.
They play in St. Pete.
Yeah.
That's the difference. That's the problem. It's not the St. Pete Rays. It's
Well, they call it the Tampa Rays, but the Tampa and St. Pete is separated by a bridge, which is just, according to the people in Florida, it's just not even worth going across.
I feel like we've gone across that. I've gone across that bridge. And
I have too, yeah.
It is a 4-lane bridge that needs to be 9 lanes on each side in order to accommodate the traffic.
I mean, it's the Bay Bridge, but it's not nearly as bad as the Bay Bridge is during like peak summer.
That's
like
true too.
it feels like, like I have to go across the Bay Bridge on like a October day Like, maybe there's a little bit more during the rush hour traffic that I'm sure annoys people, but like.
Well, and I mean, if you're already not hot on the team, I drove.
I mean, to be
90
fair,
minutes to watch the Orioles.
To be fair, I can understand that somebody who lives in Tampa proper doesn't want to go, plan for an hour and a half trip across the bridge to go to St. Pete to watch this Rays team. Like, I get it. You're not that committed. I mean, like, I live, a really good throw away from Dodger Stadium, and it takes me about 90 minutes to get there too. So I can understand the torture of this.
You could walk, but then it's that uphill because it's got to be.
I ain't walking up a fucking mountain. I ain't walking up a fucking mountain. So, but these two teams are fascinating because there are players on the Dodgers you know of. Mookie Betts and Cody Bellinger and Corey Seager and Justin Turner and Kershaw.
World-class
and
pitching like Kershaw.
Yeah. And, the Rays have a very good lineup as well with a lot of players that you maybe remember. Like, you remember Charlie Morton, right? Pitched for the Astros for a little while?
Nope.
Well, he's their ace.
Okay.
He's doing good for them.
Sure, yeah. How many ex-Orioles are on their team?
I don't know if there's any.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right, well. I'm not sure how good they're going to be then because, being an ex-Oriole is what really puts you in your stride.
So what's really fascinating, though, is that they have a lot of players who look like they have big futures ahead of them.
Somewhere else, of course.
Well, yeah, somewhere where they can afford to pay them.
When they get paid somewhere else, yeah.
But, those types of guys sometimes are just incredible when the right things happen, when the right series of, like, Randy Arozarena is on the Rays. You've never heard of him.
Nope.
And he's hit 8 home runs this postseason, or 7 or 8 home runs this postseason. Out of nowhere, he's just the best player on the Rays.
To be fair, the Orioles got eliminated by a Royals team that was full of people that we hadn't heard about 2 years before, basically.
Yeah, but they all just got good all at the same time.
On the same team, at the same time, they got good. They kicked us out of our last chance to get into the World Series.
Well, it makes me wonder more and more as to whether or not there's something to be said about constraint and creativity. Whereas, like, I told you about the building the race car earlier. Mm-hmm. If I give you $10,000 and I say build me a race car, you're gonna really rack your brain trying to come up with every single possible thing you could do to get it in under cost.
Yep.
If I say you have an unlimited budget for this race car, sure, you're going to be thinking of creative things you can do with all the money you have for your race car, but you're not really, like, focused on, like, how can I make the most out of what I got?
Well,
it's just, like, disposable, like, I can just get myself a Mookie Betts now. Like,
$10,000 to build a race car or $100 million to make a race car, you're going to be spending $10,000 or $100 million.
Yeah.
$100 million, you don't have leftover money at the end of it.
Exactly.
You find a way to spend it.
It makes me feel hopeful, at least for the Orioles, because teams like the Rays and the A's, who've done well with very low budgets for the last 20 years, like perhaps the Orioles are of the same vein, where we're as like a mid-market team, we can still compete even with the lesser resources if we're only more creative than the next team is.
They just need to go out and find themselves a manager who has a proven track record of success.
Like Kevin Cash of the Rays.
Well, I was going to say there was a guy who was in New York for a while, and then he went out to Arizona.
Yeah, in Texas.
Yeah, his name escapes me. I can't
Buck
remember.
Showalter?
That guy, yeah. We should get him for 5 or 6 years and see what we can do.
He did well.
Oh,
Just newsflash, he did well.
Yeah,
But, that sunset on that period of time, I'm not happy about it, but...
you know what we really need?
What?
New owner. That's the problem.
Well, the Sun's taking over now.
How do we get one of those?
I don't know if Peter Angelos is still, like, doing anything. I know he owns the team, but I'm pretty sure he's, like, on a long fishing trip. And John Angelos has been running things for a while, if that makes any sense.
I picture one of those boxes. You know those boxes they used to sweat you in with everything but your head inside? That, except for cold. And his head is inside of a fishbowl, and he doesn't move because he's frozen, but there's a computer over there.
A real Futurama thing going on
like
here.
a 1970s computer, and it speaks in a very computery voice, and that's how Angelos is still with us. And every once in a while, an ad for Meets with Elioma runs on that screen just because it has to.
Mark Elias walks in, and he's just like, yeah, so I'm looking over some things that we can do with the team. And then The computer just starts going like, have you thought about re-signing Chris Davis to a big contract? It's like, well, we did that already and it didn't work out well. It's like, have you thought about re-signing Chris Davis to a big contract? It's like, I think it's stuck on a couple years ago. Should we update the machine?
Have you been a victim of mesothelioma?
The law offices of Peter Angelos can represent you in your class action.
I to those who may not get, Peter Angelos literally made money enough to buy the Orioles because the U.S. Navy poisoned every person in Sparrows Point with mesothelioma at their plant. So he was basically like, hey, everybody, I'll take your case, and then got a lot of money and bought the team, and we are ever the worse for it.
Well, hopefully in the future we can aspire to be a Rays-like team where we make the most of so little.
Oh, dear God in heaven. What did you just say? Can we aspire to be a Rays-like team?
Listen, I like what they do inside of the front office and inside of the manager's office and on the field seems to be working really well. It's the decisions of like allowing them to exist in Florida, which are my real problems, or the decisions of the people in Florida to not support any of these teams that win.
Well, I was going to say that
because remember back when the last time that the Rays made the World Series and nobody fucking went. There was empty seats at a World Series game. You are collectively, and you know, like you're allowed to have a sports team. They're allowed to succeed every once in a while. I'm not trying to take away somebody's joy, but Florida doesn't deserve their sports teams. They don't. Like they're.
If the Orioles are in the World Series, the Hilton's going to sell tickets to that flat roof that we look over from our rooms, because it'll be like, if you strain, you can kind of see the outfield, and somebody's like, 200. I got 200. Can I just go up there?
I'll take it.
Can I get beers up there, or what's the situation up there?
There's a bed? Oh, score.
I was going to say, but if we want to be like the Rays front office.
Can take a nap during commercial breaks.
The Rays front office, the Rays owner's office, then at what point are we going to let somebody homeless move in into the warehouse?
That happened during the off season.
Oh, okay. All right. So we got to.
I guess they laid off security.
Well, no. You got to make the most of what you have. All right, security, no more season. We don't need you. Where's it going to happen?
So do you have a take on who you think's going to win? I know you haven't been following the teams very closely, but do you have a favorite between the Dodgers and the?
I am, having grown up in the AL East, I always have a fervent belief that money will always win over talent. It doesn't matter how scrappy you are. You could be the team that looks like it's on its way, and it's 1997, and a little shit reaches over the wall and ruins all of your hopes and dreams. And the evil empire that just continues to buy itself championships. 27, I believe, is what I keep hearing on Twitter.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that their team didn't make the playoffs this year, or like not the real playoffs.
Well, they made the playoffs. Yeah, they lost to the Rays.
Not the real playoffs, though. It's the expanded first couple of rounds.
I think they would have made it.
The ALCS. Yeah. Were they in the ALCS?
No.
All right, then I don't want to hear about your damn rings, okay? But in the end, money almost.
To be fair, the Orioles haven't been in ALCS for a while, so I don't know if we should use that as the barometer for.
That's also probably true. But in the end, I do think that I look at games like the series, like the Giants versus Dodgers, which wasn't World Series, but obviously the NLCS, and every team I can think of that has matched up, other than the Rays this year, has been basically like the two biggest spenders of whatever, of either league you're talking about. American League, two biggest spenders. Or it's Boston, New York.
Yeah.
Two biggest spenders.
Well, I think the analytics of the game has really changed, has really evened out that advantage.
You say that.
I do say that. I think that, you know, like it's one of those, you got to be so lucky to be able to win. So, the A's just being in competition every year and making the playoffs like 10 out of the last, that's all you can really hope for at a certain point, unless you're willing to make the investments into players that will help, like, shore up the post, you know, like, because if you have a bets, like if you're the Dodgers and you're able to get bets for, you know, it was a rental at one point. He's signed an extension since then, but, like, you know.
Do you think the money gets you better analytics, though?
I mean, I think you have more access to people who are able to do the analytics, but I think that it's more of a matter of of figuring out how the analytics work for you as opposed to.
I'm sure you're right. Money and analytics are only causally, like, slightly connected. Let me ask Jeeves about that. How do I Google Jeeves? Oh, wait. One of those things is the verb that I use for searching on the internet, and the other one is half the people listening to this were just like, who the fuck is Jeeves? The guy sitting to my right has no idea what Ask Jeeves means.
Yeah.
I am so goddamn old. I fucking hate this.
Well, so here's the final question for you before we get out of here. LA has won the NBA Finals with the Los Angeles Lakers, and now they have the Dodgers in the World Series. The Tampa Bay Lightning won the Stanley Cup, which is hockey, in case you forget.
I do forget, yes.
And they have the Tampa Bay Rays in the World Series.
Sure, yeah.
If either the Rays or the Dodgers win the World Series, are you ready to bestow Titletown on either one of these cities, or do you need the Buccaneers or the Rams to win a Super Bowl to really solidify the Titletown?
Who won MLS this year?
I think they're still going. Didn't they start? They started late because of Corona, and I think
I'm not sure. I mean, if we're counting hockey, then we have to count MLS and all the other minor sports.
I don't think Tampa Bay has a team anymore in MLS. They had the Mutiny at one point.
That was my
back when.
Hockey's a minor league sport.
Yeah, I know. I heard you. Just trying to avoid that.
I think that
trying to show off my knowledge of MLS.
In any of the Mutiny, by the way, Tampa Bay, can we lean a little more on the pirate life? Come on. Pretty sure it's Mutiny.
MLS.
Here we go.
Going to the website.
Here we go. But I think that
I don't think that's a team anymore, though, to be fair.
I don't think that that creates Titletown is football plus one other thing. You
have to have the football.
You can win football. If the Patriots win the Super Bowl and the Celtics win.
Yeah.
Boston
then you got a Titletown thing going. Or if it's the Patriots and the Red Sox or something like that.
Or Patriots and the Red Sox.
Yeah.
But I think you have to get I love baseball, America's pastime, but the reality is it's not America's largest sport. And if Tampa Bay was to win let's say LA won hockey.
By the way, Tampa Bay Mutiny dissolved in 2002.
We're old as shit. Just so you know,
the Tampa Bay Mutiny have been away as long as somebody can vote. Somebody who hasn't known the Tampa Bay Mutiny can vote in this election.
I just realized that someone who was born the year we graduated high school can vote this year.
Yeah. You want to know where you can find other depressing news?
No, wait. But what I was going to say is, let's say that LA has a hockey team, right?
Yeah.
If
Kings.
If LA had won hockey, basketball, and the World Series, but the Bucks win the Super Bowl, is anyone talking about LA as Titletown?
I think so. I think LA would talk about it as Titletown.
All right.
I'm saying, would you accept it?
Yeah. Would anyone outside of LA? Probably not. And if the Rays win the World Series, but I don't know, someone else.
But what if you
wins.
didn't have a hockey or have a football team?
Like who?
Well, like like LA as of 3 years ago or 5 years ago. Like
I mean,
if they won,
they had two teams. They had the one in Oakland and the one in San Diego that were temporarily somewhere else. Now we've got the two teams here.
Now we got the
and
two,
also the one that's temporarily in Las Vegas.
the one in Los Angeles, the other one that I think's still in Los Angeles.
They play somewhere, and the one in Vegas.
Have they moved back to San Diego? No, they're still in LA. Okay,
yes,
so the Chargers are still here, and then the one in Las Vegas for the weekends when we're.
Well, no, all I'm saying is I walk around LA on a Sunday, I see more Raiders gear than I do anybody else. So clearly that is an LA team.
I will never understand that the Raider fan forever thing.
Yep.
Like
Oakland still wearing LA or still wearing Raider stuff.
You left us. We love you.
Yeah. Actually, I do completely understand that. Yeah. Every relationship I've ever had. But no, I think that what's another city? Forget LA because LA it doesn't work well.
Yeah.
With this, but
a city that doesn't have a football team.
I was gonna say, but the thing else. Yeah. So what is the city that has major sports but does not have football? That's the problem. I don't think there is one.
Yeah. I think that would be.
Cincinnati has a football team.
Yeah.
I mean, Arizona has a football team. It's not really Phoenix, but also Phoenix is like 90% of the area of Arizona. So
It's Phoenix and then a whole lot of Coyotes.
right, which is
Yeah.
their hockey team, ironically
Right.
enough. Yeah.
And they have a hockey team.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. They have a hockey team and a basketball team.
Yeah.
Is there any place
And a
that doesn't have-
baseball team.
That's true.
They have all four.
Is there any place that has a football team?
I
that doesn't
mean-
have a football team. Oakland, arguably now.
I mean, I guess you could say Milwaukee, but are you counting Green Bay as part of
Yeah.
Milwaukee's football team?
Because
Like,
Green Bay doesn't have a baseball team or anything else.
Yeah.
And honestly, if it weren't for being Green Bay is owned by basically the people of Green Bay, the team itself is owned by the people.
yeah,
It would have moved to fucking Milwaukee by now.
I think Roberto's done.
He
I
doesn't
think,
have any. He doesn't have any sports knowledge. Anyway, my whole point is that like I think that if you don't win football, you don't get it. You can win literally everything else. If Tampa Bay won everything, but not the NFL championship, then I don't think anybody except for Tampa Bay is talking about. If Boston won hockey, basketball, and baseball, but then
I think they would call that Title Town.
they probably would, but
DC
no one outside of Boston would care.
DC was trying to do it on the Nationals and the WNBA,
Yes. Well, that's because DC.
and like the year before the Capitals had won, so they're just like, oh, we're still in Title Town, still haven't been unseated.
Yeah. DC is also home to people like Dianne Feinstein, who we've spoken about at length today.
Yeah. Well, if you are looking for legal distinctions between what constitutes a title town. Wow,
Use
that was
take three.
all over.
Use
the
take three.
place. You know where you can go?
Where's that?
OTheAnthem.com. Corey to OTheAnthem.com. OTheAnthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line 443-219-7595.
What's that number again?
Excuse me, 443-219-7595.
You can also reach Corey at 1-800 I have COVID. That's 1-800-COVID.
I was
positive.
trying to get through all that stuff. I had like the little frog in my throat, and I was just like 443-219-7595. Anyway, you can find more on me on my website, CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com, Facebook.com/CoreyBakerFilm, at LegendsTB5 on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok. And yes, we'll be doing the Trial of Chicago 7 review, new and improved reviews, and hopefully Charm City King sometime after that. So check that out.
Really, though?
Come back next week. Let's see what happens.
I'm going to make a guarantee that... no, see, I'm not going to do that because you would do it just to spite me.
Yeah.
It would be Monday at 3 p.m. to be like, give me a couple hours.
It's uploading on YouTube.
It's going up right now. But anyway, you can find more of me at Robert and Cheek on all your social networks. If you're looking for something a little more often than the once a week that you get the Oh the Anthem podcast, you can check out my movie reviews, the Everyman movie reviews, available on YouTube and at Anchor. And those episodes come up twice a week, generally Thursday and one day in between, usually on Sunday. We've kept up a 2-episode per week pace for the last 50 weeks in a row. Thank you for the golf clap. And if even that is not enough content for you, then I have a daily podcast that's Rob Explains. You can find it at anchor.fm/Rob Explains. And that comes up literally every day. And by every day, I don't mean Monday through Friday. I mean every single day. There is a brand new episode, even the weekend days. And on Mondays, you'll be able to get a video on YouTube of all the previous week's episodes. If you'd rather get it long form like that, that will be up there as well. You can go to robertandcheek.com where you can find links to everything else that I'm working on, including the campaign for president, which is going to be wrapping up in the next 2 weeks, and moving on to new projects. So make sure you check that out to stay tuned for all the newest stuff.
Well, I think we've done good here today.
I think we've done something. I don't know if it's good. But also, you didn't let me swallow and say, make sure that you are following at RTOAZN on all your social media, including TikTok, where he's putting up quality content like... Follow him on Instagram, RTOAZN on Instagram. But a big thank you for Roberto for being our producer again today. So let's try that one again.
All right. Well, I think we've done good here today.
We've done something. I don't know if it's good. But as always, you're listening to the Oh the Anthem podcast, part of the Oh the Anthem digital network. For Corey and Roberto, this is Rob. Have a great week, everybody.
Right into Oakland Bay. Just keep walking. That's all I'm saying.
She can't walk that far.
I'm not going to finish that statement because I'm worried it might indict me.